On LASU ODLIR program. I welcome you to today's lesson. Olanrewaju Dosunmu is my name. Last lesson we discussed the meaning, uses, and role of statistics. In today's lesson, we shall look at the classifications of data. I hope as we get along that you find the lesson stimulating and rewarding. Thank you.
My wonderful students, welcome once again. I am Olanrewaju Dosunmu, your facilitator for MET 105, Statistics for Management and Social Sciences 1. Today we want to look at Unit 2 of our lesson notes, titled Classifications of Data. First, let's look at the lesson objectives. By the end of this unit, you should be able to discuss the significance of data classification. And the second objective is you should be able to explain what gives rise to data. And the third and the last objective for this unit, you should be able to classify data by 4 different forms. So let's look at some terms in statistics, and these terms will enable us to be able to know how data are arrived at. The first is population. In statistics, what do we mean by population? A population is the totality of items under study. Each item of study is called an elementary unit. So any study that you are undertaking, the units within the study constitute the population of that study. All the units constitute the population of that study. Take for instance, if you want to study the families within a locality, then every family within that locality put together will constitute the population of that study. Now, population here does not refer just to population of people. It can also be population of any study. So for instance, we may also be looking at the population of some firms, companies, organizations. So the organizations may also be within a particular industry or within a particular location. So the totality of all the units within that study is what we call the population of the study. Now, what do we call variable? Of course, as the name suggests, it shows that there are quantities that have varied values. But we want to look at variable here with respect to population. Now, a variable is any feature of a population which is being studied. That is, when you take a population, generally you want to study something about that population. What you want to study is what we refer to here as feature. For instance, I said the other time that if we are to study families within a particular locality. There may be several things we may be interested in concerning families within a particular locality. But if I just pick one, let's say family size, the size of families. Now, in this case, family size will be a variable under the study. The population is family within a particular locality. Then a variable of study in this population is family size. There are other variables that we might be interested in. Now, another term that we need to familiarize ourselves with is measure. A measure is an observation or measurement on a study variable. That is, when you have a variable and you observe it with a view to recording your observation or measuring that feature of the variable, then you have what you call a measure. And it is this measure on variable that eventually give rise to what we call data. Recall that we defined data earlier as basic facts required for a study. But here now, we are going to redefine data. Data are the outcome measures on variables of study population or populations. That is, whatever measurement in form of observation or actual measurements on variable that are under study within a population that we call data. So eventually, those measures become what we call our basic facts about that study population. And that is our lesson for today. So, in conclusion, let us recall that we have to understand the nature of data in order to be able to apply the various statistical techniques that will help us to understand data. So it is necessary that we understand how data are classified. And it is this classification that determines the method or technique that should be used to explore data and even eventually. Summary: what have we learned in this unit? We have learned, among other things, how data can be classified by 4 different forms, one of which is source of data, which was sub-classified into primary and secondary data. We also classify data by measurement scale used, which in this case sub-classified into quantitative and qualitative data. And the third classification is number of variables being measured, which was sub-classified into univariate, bivariate, and multivariate data. And the fourth classification was sequential time or space reference, which was subclassified into cross-sectional data, time series data, and panel data. So that is our lesson for today. I'm sure some of us will have questions. So let's entertain only one or two.
If internet rather is a primary or secondary source of data.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. The internet is a secondary source of data. And why do I say that? The internet is a secondary source of data because from our definition of secondary source of data, these are data that are obtained not by an individual or a group of individuals that are actually making use of that data. That is, the data was already collected by another individual or group of individuals for another use or for another purpose. So you are now using the same data. So you are not the original designer of the template through which the data was collected. So the internet is a secondary source of data. However, during the course of the lesson, recall that we did mention that the questionnaire is a primary source of data, isn't it? And you can use the questionnaire to collect data. And we did mention there also that the internet can be used as a forum for creating the questionnaire. That notwithstanding, the internet is a secondary source of data. So when you use the internet for your questionnaire, that is a primary source. But you have the internet in that case is not used to collect the data, but it's just a medium through which the data is collected. Is that okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, over to you.
My name is Joseph Abatunde Joseph. I would like to ask if data can be classified simultaneously by the 4 different forms.
Yes, it's a wonderful question. Data can be classified by the 4 different forms. Fine, during the course of the lesson, we classify data by the 4 different forms separately. But when you have a data set, whatever data set you have can actually be classified by all the 4 different forms simultaneously. That is, such data must have been gotten either through a primary or secondary source. That's one form. And such data could have been classified under the number of variables. That is, whether you are studying just a variable, 2 variables, or 3 or more variables. That's univariate, bivariate, and the multivariate. That's another form. And that same data could as well be classified by whether there is sequencing in the data set and also the measurement scale that is used. Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.